Welcome again to another episode of Sunrise Life, the podcast where we have deep conversations with freelance models. Today, I have a fellow freelance model that I've known about for a really long time, but we've never interacted in real life besides just chatting on Facebook or whatever here or there. Rebecca Lawrence, hello.
Hi, Christy. I am so happy to be here. I listened to I binged 5 episodes of your podcast when I was driving from Jacksonville to Miami last week. And I remember pulling over just to text you, I love it. I'm so excited for what you're doing for our community. You're exposing what's interesting about us.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, it's been really fun. And I feel like I've gotten to know some of my fellow acquaintances a little bit better just through doing these hour-long conversations here and there.
I love it. I'm going to meet several of the guests that you had already in the next couple months. So I'm just, after listening to their long-form interviews, I am so psyched. Hopefully I'll be meeting Vika next week and then you and Taylor in a couple of months. So I have a little more background on everyone, and I know that we can jump right into new conversations.
Have you not met Vika before?
No, I also just know her from online. So when I get to Tampa next week, I think I'm going to have a shoot at her studio.
Awesome. I love her. That's so cool.
I texted her after I heard her episode, I'm fangirling over your episode. Okay, I can't wait. Cool, let's go.
So you've been modeling, I think, around the same amount of time as me. Is that right?
That's exactly right. I joined the websites and did my first shoots for my portfolio in 2006. But I went right into it as full-time work when I was in college. I still had some other jobs, but my last 2 years of college, I was a little bit checked out when it came to school because I was traveling already for modeling every weekend and all of my breaks and skipping a lot of Fridays.
Wow.
And then since I graduated with a degree in Russian literature, which I've never used, since I graduated in 2008, I've been full-time ever since then, with a break when I was 26 when I tried to retire because I thought I was too old. But now I am 37.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm so happy that you're down to expose your age because I'm all about the age positivity and stuff.
No, I'm so proud of my age. I would never want to be younger again, honestly.
What is the benefits of being older as a model?
The main one for me is that anyone that seeks to do harm to somebody who's ignorant is going to choose somebody significantly younger than me and with a lot less experience and a lot less age on them. So I feel like I have this little sense of security knowing that people just seeking somebody who doesn't know better to do harm are going to choose somebody else, unfortunately. But that gives me an extra load of responsibility to make sure that I can reach anybody younger and make sure that harm is not done to them.
Yeah.
But personally, I feel a little bit more comfortable just knowing that. And then also, when I compare myself at 37 to myself at 27 to 17, my confidence level is so much higher and I've earned it.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're not a target for predators who are into people who look like a young child.
Right. And that too, because I know that when I was 20, I looked 14.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that I don't know how old I look now that I'm 37, but let's just say I look legal.
Yeah. Yeah. I was
all the way
pretty young. When I was 18, I looked like I was 13 and yeah, people would make weird comments all the time.
I believe you. We both have a baby face. I hope I get to pose with you when I meet you in June because a lot of people have brought that to my attention that we should.
Yeah.
The big blue eyes and
we both have cute faces.
Yeah.
And
we're both kind of girl next door.
You do some
the blonde and the brunette versions of girl next door.
You're into bendy poses and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you have the back flexibility that I envy, but I've got pretty good hamstrings.
Yeah. I'm not as good right now as I was a few months ago. I think that I kind of whacked myself out of shape.
You're living in a cold place. There's just no way you can be as flexible.
Yeah. For the purpose of our listeners, could you give a short description of how you started modeling and like the progression of your modeling career and then where you are now?
Sure. I started, my first shoot was fully nude, art nude. I didn't know how to wear makeup. I didn't know how to do hair, and I didn't think I needed to. And the reason I was doing my first shoot, and this probably differs from most of the people I know and most of your guests, I was kind of made by a friend. I was an exchange student in Germany when I was 18 for a year. And when I came back, a really good friend of mine, American friend of mine from the trip, became roommates with a well-known traveling art model who got her into modeling. And then the two of them got me into modeling. So the sales pitch was like, hey, do you want to go on a road trip with me this summer? We're going to make like 15 grand each. We're going to go to the Midwest on the summer break from college. All you have to do is like post a couple of shots on this website called One Model Place, and you'll be getting paid work in no time.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Place, that's OG.
I know. My number is 246-715. I'll never forget it.
Nice.
So anyway, so I knew that my friend, like I got to watch my friend become a model through her roommate for a whole year. I got to watch her build her portfolio and have these experiences, some positive and some negative. And the intention the whole time was art nude.
Nice.
Having like dance poses, very sculpturally poses. My friend was just starting to like get into glamour a little bit more, around the time that she got me into modeling. So I had some background and I had some training, and these girls laid down some ground rules for me. For example, they told me all of the things that photographers could ask and that it's not wrong to do those things, but you should really know in advance whether you want to and what your price will be. So I was warned, like, you're a college girl, you're going to show up and you're saying you don't do open like nudes. Like, what happens if somebody's like, okay, here's $1,000 or $2,000, you're only being paid like $150 for this shoot. Do you want it? So I had to like have this conversation in my head a million times and like talk through it with these models how I was going to say no. And then they taught me about fetish, that like sometimes like there's going to be a risk that people are going to try to get you to do porn, but they're going to try to get you to do weird things that are equivalent to porn for some people. And you're going to need a price for those things and not treat it like art modeling.
Sound advice?
So yeah. So when a guy messages you and says like, hey, I have this really creative idea. I'd like to put pies in your face. That's not like a really cool creative art school idea. That's fetish.
Yeah.
And you should charge more money for that if you're going to do it.
Did you get pie in the face?
So the pie in the face I did. I use that as an example because it's like one of the very few ones that I did. So I benefited a lot, from having this background from other models. I'm aware of it, and I've always wanted to train other models, and I'm always going out of my way to help them when they get started. But my thing is I won't create them.
Yeah.
No baby vampires. If somebody comes to me and says like, I want a model, what do? I will give them some really brief background information, but I will not help them. But if they've got a few shoots under their belt and they're getting stuck, then like I will put them under my wing. But like I don't want to be the person that influences their first step, because it is such a life-changing decision to post nude on the internet.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. It's great that you had a few friends to like be with you and give you advice when you were first starting out though.
Yeah, that's invaluable. And I think that really is the reason why I've been doing this for 17 years. Like that I had this advantage in the beginning. I had really great advice, because I think most of our peers in 2006 were not getting really great advice. Like generally models that I would meet were very like proprietary towards their like trade secrets. Like they wouldn't tell you how they were emailing people. They didn't like share how they would cold call. Like they were very stingy with their contacts. So what I got was like true friendship, and it had a real value.
Yeah, I had a similar experience when I first started. I was just kind of like hopping around, hoping that nobody was going to kill me at a photo shoot or try to kidnap me. And it wasn't until maybe about 2014 or 2015 when I was invited to a Facebook group of other traveling freelance models.
Oh, that's where I know you from. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one Facebook group that got taken down.
Yeah. Oh, I miss it. Oh.
Yeah. It's like Fight Club, where
But
it's not supposed to talk about it, but whatever.
yeah. I love that group. I mean, I think when those groups are sort of what changed the culture in that we would share very openly with each other, because how else could any of us survive?
Yeah.
You're not trying to out survive your peers, you're trying to help each other.
Yeah, and after a certain point, I feel like if you have a lot of experience and you've traveled quite a bit and you know what it's like to work with certain types of photographers, I feel like we have a duty to each other to like let somebody know, hey, like this guy might not pay you at the end of the shoot or whatever, or hey, this dude groped me or something. I feel like you have a duty.
I don't, it's not about money. I don't want these guys to have victims. I'm not competing with these younger models. Like, we're in different classes now. So, if they want somebody old that's going to be on time, that's me. And if they want a wild card that might like do shots with them, that's somebody else, but they need to have all the information.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I was newer, back in like, 05, 06, 07, I would like message other freelance models that I perceived to be more successful than me. And they would either like never reply or like tell me like, oh, I'm not going to give you free information or whatever. So
yeah, same. That was the culture.
There's a little bit of gatekeeping today though, even in those same Facebook groups that I was invited, because I feel like I had to like put in a bunch of work and struggle in order to be allowed into that group. So in that sense, I feel like it's kind of gatekeepy. Like you have to have a lot of experience already to basically prove yourself to get invited into it.
I mean, that's true. Like the people who would benefit from it most were not there because they weren't like vetted enough. But, I think that group's whole thing was security.
Yeah.
Because there were groups that came before that were getting shut down because like models would literally just like, this is back before, everybody had a smartphone. Models would log into Facebook from like a photographer's computer if they were like chilling in the studio or being hosted. And then photographers would access everything and read, all the information we were sharing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I haven't heard of a story like that in a long time because everybody has their own personal devices that are locked. But that was a huge risk in like 2012.
Yeah, I've also heard of models screenshotting something that another model said about a particular photographer. This actually happened to me. Somebody screenshotted something that I said and texted the screenshot to the photographer that I was talking about, and he got all pissed at me, and I had to block him.
It happens to me too. Yeah. Oh, that's so dirty.
Yeah. So, but I guess in that case, that's why there's tight security in those groups, because if you don't, you'll get people doing that.
Right. So I'm happy that groups like that exist, and then I'm happy for some of the newer groups that we're in where like it's very, very inclusive,
Yeah. Speaking of crazy fucked up photographers, I'd like to introduce the photo shoot fail of the week. If you have a story about a photographer that was like crazy or out of line, or the situation surrounding the shoot was crazy or fucked up, what's one of your crazy photo shoot stories?
Okay, so I was brainstorming this a little bit. Okay, can I share two? The first one is only like 2 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. The first one is, oh my God. I thought I was the coolest nude model ever. I was in Australia and I had a photographer ask me if we could go on location in a helicopter. And I was like, hell fucking yeah. Okay, we have to leave at 5 a.m. That's fine. We're up at sunrise and we're going to this like little island in the jungle, like in between like a bunch of like jungly, what do you call it? Like, sort of in a marsh.
Okay.
And so the helicopter lands on this island, and as I get out, and I'm so stoked, the sun is rising, it's beautiful. As I get up, all period blood just like runs down my leg, and it's like, it's in the seat, and the helicopter is all over me. I don't have any supplies because they told me to pack light. I didn't know. So I'm like, well, whatever. We're on this island, and like I'm about to be naked, so I just throw off my dress and I start running into the water, and then the pilot's screaming at me. He's like, no, there's crocodiles.
Oh shit.
So I'm like, what do I do? Like, can I get this blood off with just like wet sand? That's what I did.
Oh my God.
And then I So the shoot started hilariously. I think it was pretty good. The photographer was an elderly guy and he passed away before I got any photos back. So I can't even prove any of this. But it's a true story.
Wow.
All right, but okay. So my next story, this one is much more serious about a total failure in communication and industry standards and just the total breakdown is about a workshop I did in DC, and this was probably in 2010. Yeah, 2010. And to back up a little bit, at this point in my life, I'm an art nude model who does a little bit of glamour. Like at this point, I've learned to do some hair and makeup. I can put on eyelashes. I don't own very much lingerie, but I'm willing to wear it and feel comfortable in it. So I went from just feral, running around the woods with sticks and leaves in my hair art model to now I can do studio work. I've learned that I feel comfortable making eye contact with the camera. And my boundary is no open leg, and it has been for the entire 17 years of my career. So these girls that trained me, they were like, identify your boundaries now and be firm. And I think one of the things that makes it easy for people to communicate with me is things never change. It's not negotiable. It doesn't vary from person to person, and everyone should know what they are because they tell them right away.
Nice.
So at this workshop, I was very surprised that when I started posing in my artistic style with this other model, I'm posing at this is everybody shooting at the same time. We also call this a turkey shoot kind of workshop with hot lights. So there's no strobes. So nobody has to share a trigger. The other model and I are posing, and one of the 6 guys, oh, by the way, this is the kind of workshop where I'm paid very little, but everyone's instructed to tip a certain amount.
Oh.
So I'm still relying on these guys to tip me to make it even worth going to DC to do this workshop. So after a few minutes, a photographer pulls out a flogger and asks me to hit the other model with it. And I was like, what? Is this a joke? No. This is not that. And then these photographers are audibly yawning, and one is not even shooting. He's looking at something else. He's reading the manual for his camera, looking bored. And then a photographer pulled out a vibrator or dildo of some sort and asked her to use it on me. And at this point, I'm like, is this a joke? What is going on? Of course not. This is an art nude shoot. By the way, we're trying to be super artsy. We're wearing Mardi Gras masks and we're making these hand gestures we're mimes or something. There was no context for this. So after that, one guy just leaves and I decided to take a break. When I go to the dressing room and look at my phone, I have a very angry voicemail from the guy I was dating who was quite controlling and very much in my business. And he was a hobby photographer. So he would subscribe to these. I think back then, when somebody hosted a workshop, it wasn't on meetup.com or someplace where they wanted the models to help promote it. They kind of secretly mailed it to their mailing list. And I wasn't on the mailing list, but my boyfriend was. And he was like, holy shit, Rebecca, you're doing an erotic workshop? What the fuck? Why didn't you tell me? You bitch, what? He's like, you think I want to know? He was really, really angry, and I was very disturbed because I was not doing an erotic workshop, and this organizer knew what my limits were. We had worked many times. Now, this is the aging man who maybe forgot. To his credit, that's the best I could say. But I have a feeling that this workshop was they did a last minute search for people and mailed at the last minute hey, slots available for erotic workshop with Rebecca Lawrence and this person. So at this point I'm very upset. I'm trying to keep it together, but at least I'm trying not to I have to deal with the fact that my boyfriend is really mad, but I think that I can easily explain that there has been an error and I'm appalled. So I go back on set and another photographer has left, and by the way, when they leave that means I get no money. Because I'm basically they're all supposed to tip me a certain amount to get a model release, and they're leaving without one. When I get back, a photographer asked if I would just spank her a little bit since I obviously don't like to use toys. And I'm just no, I think there's been a mix-up. I've just seen that there is with the email that went out that I am doing erotic. I am an art nude and a little bit of glamour nude style model. What? And the other model, well, she was game. She was up for any of this. It didn't matter to her because she did this kind of work routinely. So she was just looking at me, letting me, be in charge of what the boundaries are. But she wasn't really supporting or backing me up either, which was kind of typical of models back then. I think we do look out for each other a lot more now. So anyway, I said I would not spank her. He was like, would you just take this lipstick and put it on your hand and then leave a handprint on your butt so it looks like you spanked her?
That's weird.
What happened to our art concepts? I'm so confused. But at this point, I knew that whose fault this was, and that it was entirely on the organizer for just deciding I was going to do something and emailing a huge list of people, and his mailing list was like, at the time, like, I guess 1,000 people in New York and around the Northeast. So, like, whether they are there or not, like, they all think that I did an erotic workshop, and they're going to start asking me about erotic or why I wouldn't do it with them. And it's fucked up the whole thing of, like, everyone knows what my limits are.
Oh, what a headache.
So I had a talk with him afterwards. It was a little bit like talking to a wall. Yeah, I was like, this is like, honestly, I told him, I was like, this is the worst shoot of my life. This is the worst day of my modeling life. Like, it could not be any more awkward. And I did nothing to cause this. I have been so clear.
And he didn't communicate with you that he wanted to advertise it as erotic. He was just trying to do it.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I think at the last minute he was like, oh, if I put the E word in there, more people will come.
It's no skin off his nose because he's still getting the payment for them to arrive, and you're hoping to get
exactly
when they leave. So
exactly. These guys were yawning. I'm like, wow. And then it just occurred to me, like, because I've never done an erotic shoot, like, is that what happens? Like, when you're an erotic model, like, and you're just like kind of warming up and you're not like opening it yet? Like, do they yawn?
I mean, I've done like open leg modeling and stuff, and I can't recall yawning, but some photographers can be really pushy. Like if they booked you for that, some of them don't want to wait for you to do a progression of poses, like starting with the outfit on and then taking the outfit off and then getting somewhat more erotic throughout the shoot. They just want to make sure that you're going to do it and they're like, oh, show it to me now, or I've had people be kind of pushy about that. But when I first started, my boundaries, I started doing nude modeling pretty much my first shoot, even though I didn't plan it as a nude shoot.
I heard you talk about that on the episode.
Yeah. And then after that, I pretty much got into like open leg modeling like shortly after that, and with photographers of a variety of different levels of respect towards me. And so nowadays, because I have my own like subscription sites, I primarily only do anything open leg there on my own sites, and I won't pay for somebody else unless I already know that they're cool or I've already worked with them before and I like them and trust them. But generally, I don't even want to sign up for that because a lot of the times, if it's like a newer photographer that I haven't worked with before, I kind of can get the gist if they're gonna be a freaking weirdo or like be pushy or yawn or whatever.
Yeah, but I think I do try to go as far as I'm going to go right away. Like I make up I've always done this. Like I make up a story that it's about like, oh, I need to take my clothes off because there's going to be lines on me.
Yeah.
But I don't like to do I don't like to peel off my dress and then peel off my lingerie and then be nude. I'd rather just be nude until they're bored with nude. And then I know they've gotten what they paid for. And then they see that I have a huge amount of clothing with me. And then we go on to do like 8 more looks, and nude was just one of them.
Yeah.
And also, like, I don't like to build tension. I like to diffuse tension with these guys. Like, I like to, my atmosphere, my like vibe is kind of like, collegial broy, maybe. Not broy, but like,
Yeah. Yeah. Reducing.
Like, if I think somebody's like lusting over me, I'll like, I don't know, I'll like pick my nose or something, just to diffuse it.
That's a good diffuser. Yeah, I've done a lot of shoots over the years that seem to be like striptease themed, especially when I was actively touring, like, doing 10 shoots in a week or whatever. And half of them would be like on a hotel bed somewhere, and you have a bunch of lingerie outfits. And I've done a bunch where it's like starting in the lingerie and then ending up nude and then picking a different outfit. And I did so many of that. I felt more like an entertainer than a model for a long time, but I'm happy to be making more of my own content now.
Yeah, I'm also, since I've been training to do like live performances in nightlife, we can talk about that later, but like I've gotten into like the pole dancing and aerial dance scene in New York, having a mindset like I am a performer, because I used to tell people I am not a performer, it's all about the images, but now I'm having a little bit more respect for myself and like, my sequencing.
That's cool.
It's interesting.
I fully respect anybody that can look graceful in motion, because for me it's just one pose at a time.
I mean, sometimes the motion helps cover up anything sloppy.
Yeah.
I'll just say that.
That's really cool. Yeah, I've seen a lot of your...
Sometimes when you know you're going to be sloppy, you just go faster. Yeah. Hope they don't catch it.
Fall with style.
Yeah. Oh my God, I did that a couple of days ago. I was being hosted by a model and I just randomly like fell off the bed when I was packing my bag. And I bounced off a dresser, banged my elbow, but landed on the ground with like one foot in the air and my toe pointed. And I made the two other models in the room like, observe the toe. I have another funny story about toes pointing.
Okay, yeah, tell me.
When I was 23 or 24, so I've been modeling for like 4 years. I needed my wisdom teeth out and I was at the oral surgeon and he was going to take an x-ray of my mouth. So I step into this x-ray booth with this thing that wraps around my head and he says like, I'm going to take the picture on 3, 1, 2, 3, on 3. Takes a picture of my neck because I stand up on my toes. and the doctor was like, excuse me, I did not x-ray your teeth. What just happened? I was like, no, okay, never mind. I know why I did that. Just do it again.
It was a force of habit.
It really was a force of habit.
Yeah, if a camera looks at me, I can't help but like, pose for it in some kind of way.
Right? Yeah, I just jump up on my toes. I got hip popped out. Like my family makes fun of me for the family pictures, and I'm like, you don't know how much restraint I use in only popping my hip that much. I've known for years that you had quit drinking and that you were sober. Since around I guess you probably came on my radar in like 2014. Does that sound right?
Oh.
When we both joined that group.
Yeah.
So I've known that and I had admired that and been curious about that. And then you shared some of your story in the podcast. So I wanted to maybe tell you my story about quitting drinking. It's just maybe a month short of 5 years ago.
Wow. Exciting. Tell me.
Okay. So I was like an asshole drinker. I really was but it was on and off. Like when I toured by myself and was driving all the time, I wouldn't drink at all. So I would come back to New York City after that and try to keep up with my friends and just be wasted, just no memories of anything. People were telling me what happened. Like I would lose my tolerance while on tour and come back and not be able to keep up with these New Yorkers.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely try. So it had occurred to me that any problems I had probably had to do with alcohol. When at one point, like I was feeling really happy with my life in 2018. And I was like, anything that goes wrong sort of has to do with drinking, right? Like anytime I've ever wanted to text an ex, like you're not doing that sober.
Yeah.
Spending huge amounts of money, like for no reason. Like this is also a symptom of drinking. So like, and then what it was doing to my body, like a huge thing as well. Because at this point I'm very seriously into training aerial. My classes are very expensive. Canceling late is not an option, but too dangerous to do with any amount of hangover at all. I went to Asia for 3 months, like on my own. Like I thought I was going to work, and then I got there and realized I wanted to be on vacation. And I lived super cheap. Like I stayed in hostels. Like that would be like $10 a night. I'd spend like $6 a day on food because I was in Thailand or Indonesia or Vietnam, and like I was really living on the cheap, and I like kept my money going for months. And then I came back to New York City and went out with my best friend, and like we spent $250 like just on appetizers and cocktails, catching up. And I didn't even remember like how like the things we talked about when we were catching up, unfortunately. But I wasn't even that drunk. That's what still really confuses me to this day. But I had a rocky hangover the next day, and I was driving to a photo shoot in New Jersey, about an hour and a half away. and feeling a little unsteady while I was driving, like, oh, like I didn't get enough sleep. For sure, I didn't get enough sleep. And I can't believe I spent all that money last night because like I could have stayed in Asia for another 2 months off of the $250 I spent last night.
Wow.
Like, and that was like really stuck in my head. So I'm not feeling great, but I'm not feeling the worst. I'm mostly feeling sleep deprivation. I get to the shoot, and it's like a small group shoot with 4 people at a studio, which is like an outbuilding at a person's home. The dressing room is in a bathroom. So there's like a partition between like a toilet area and the dressing room area. So, you know, if a photographer needs to use the bathroom, I have to leave the dressing room.
Oh.
That's part of the deal. It's okay. So I sit down in my chair and something comes over me. Like I feel like dying. Like I feel my soul leaving my body. And I'm like, this is the worst hangover I've had in my life. How is this possible? Where's all my money? This is awful. And then the thought pops in my head, like, I'm going to die. And then the other thought pops into my head, I'm never going to drink again. Wow. So I just started texting everybody on my phone that would listen, like, I'm never drinking again. And it probably just sounded like typical me, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm never going to drink again. And in my head, I'm like, maybe I can make it to the weekend. But I have a few plans like on Wednesday and Thursday. So I don't know. We'll see. But I feel better, you know, telling people I'm never going to drink again. And I want to see what happens. I want to write it out. And that was in May 2018. And I did not drink again. So I can't believe it myself either.
Wow.
Like one day led to the next day, led to the next day. After like 2 weeks, I was feeling like solid. I was like, this is great. I'm going to quit nicotine too while I'm at it. Now I'm going to just quit carbs. Like I quit. I'm turning it around. So that was like a really positive experience. But it also taught me that I have like a very different set of social skills than I thought I did.
Do you think
the reason this story is about modeling is, oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to ask, do you think that you were an alcoholic?
I don't resonate with that word, but I had a drinking problem. Okay. You know, I had problematic drinking habits, but I could go months and while I was on tour, if I had a reason, you know, I'm not socializing, I'm driving. But then around certain friends, I didn't know how to interact with those friends without alcohol whatsoever and had never tried. And it would be like enormous quantities.
Yeah. I had to go through that with my drinking friends too when I quit because like, you want to be the cool one and fit in. Mm-hmm. For me,
yeah, I would start the party and end the party. Like that was my thing. I was whack. I don't know why I like partying so much. Like it's really boring without the booze.
Yeah. You think that you're so awesome when you're drunk and that everybody likes you and everything that you say is cool and the music is so cool. But then the next day you feel like shit and you don't remember anything. So what was the whole point?
Yeah. Or like you and your best friend bonded, you cried on each other's shoulders. Like she gave you really good advice, but you don't remember any of it. And then you go back to your ex because you didn't take the good advice. It's wasted. Like I was having that kind of thing too. Okay, so the way this relates to modeling is fast forward. So that was in 2018. Fast forward to 2021. I finally, you know, we're a little bit past the pandemic, and now I can go do shoots again in studios with older men, you know, who are wearing masks. And this is good. So I went back to that studio. I was like, oh, this will be the first time back in the studio since I have such vivid memories of sitting in that dressing room chair, being like, I'm never drinking again. I feel disgusting. I sat in the chair again and I felt disgusting. Like I wanted to die.
Really?
I saw like I could visualize flowers around my casket, which is weird because I don't even want to be buried. So anyway, I'm disgusted. Like it's such a strong memory, and I'm smelling something so gross, and I'm smelling the flowers for my casket. And then I follow my nose, and there is a absolutely foul scented candle, like gross vanilla. And I don't know. Usually I like vanilla. Gross vanilla scented, and it is making me so sick. And that's to cover up the fact that this dressing room is also a bathroom. So I blow out the candle, and then a few minutes later, I don't feel like dying anymore. And I'm like, did I quit drinking over a fucking scented candle? At any rate, I think that candle was so gross. It made me regret all the decisions I had made in my life and want to change everything.
I wonder if, because they say that your sense of smell is the sense that's the most closely linked to your memory. I wonder if it was also bringing back the feelings from the memory of your hangover 5 years prior.
It might have, or it might have been objectively disgusting to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe I smelled something like that, like in my early childhood that affected me.
Maybe.
You know, who knows? Like our nose has a long memory from what I've heard as well. And it's like goes deep. But even if I quit drinking because a scented candle took the blame, I'm super glad that I did.
Wow.
And it was totally the right move.
That candle did you a service.
Yeah, and then I went out and tried to explain to these guys, and they just stared at me and offered me a donut. They're like, this is like a group of guys. They're so funny. They're just like 4 older guys, and they talk about every model's weight. They're shooting me, and they're all just talking about my peers and like who's gained weight, and it's horrible. And they always tell me I've lost weight, whether I have or not. And then immediately afterwards, somebody is like, we have donuts and we have cannolis. Like, I feel like this is a trap. Like, I can't eat one because you think that people who are way better than you are fat. None of you guys have any right to talk about any of us. You're talking about a bunch of gorgeous women who I massively respect.
Yeah.
So, I digress.
I've been there too. And then they'll invite you to go have like some barbecue dinner afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, you never eat anyway. And they'll make some snarky comment about
Right? And it's like you just insulted somebody who, I tried to wear her shirt the other day and it wouldn't fit, and you just called her fat. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of needing to have tough skin when it comes to people picking apart your appearance.
Yeah, especially in groups of men, and especially in groups of men of a certain age, because like this is, for some of these guys, I consider them the age of like, they probably used to grab their secretary's ass and have no consequences, and they do not accept that they've lived past that. But honestly, they would have retired after HR departments really fully came into their own. So it's bullshit. They know better.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and they shouldn't be. I feel like it's kind of a power move, especially if there's like multiple of them and one of you, and they're all gossiping about the weight or how so and so let themselves go or whatever, and
it's awful.
There, and you're supposed to be getting naked for all of them, you know?
Right? And they're telling me like, you look great, you've lost weight. And I'm like, dude, I'm gaining so much freaking weight. Or what weight is.
Probably talking shit about you behind your back to the next model that they shoot at their shoot.
Probably. I'm sure they are. Or talk about how, like, or they're going to count how many cannolis I eat. I've never had one of their cannolis, by the way. Probably because my stomach is so turned from the scented candle.
Yeah. I usually bring my own
But, yeah. Groups of men are weird. Like, I have a good way to diffuse situations one-on-one, but not always in groups. I have dirty tricks though. Like, if they're driving me crazy, I just smear my lipstick all over my face with the back of my hand discreetly, and I'm like, oops, I gotta fix it.
Nice. Yeah, the last workshop that was run by a male photographer that I did was so cringe, and I was like, why did I even sign up for it? When he first emailed me, he sounded really nice, and I was like, oh yeah, these people sound nice, and I showed up, and it was like the worst, and I was like, I'm never doing this again. Nowadays, most of the group events that I do are run by other females, like other models or female photographers, because I'm just... I can't. The workshop thing, it's good for money and like getting your name out there, like especially when you're touring and you're trying to like get people to book you independently outside of the workshop. But I feel like it's more trouble than it's worth, and all the worst photos of me ever have always come out of group events.
Yeah, exactly, and those are the ones that probably come up first on Google. When you type in your name, it's like, this is a guy who like knows everything about search engine optimization, and this is his first photo shoot ever.
Yeah. And
now, like, these are the top 900 pictures of me
with your full legal name.
Yep.
Yeah. If you're lucky, he forgot to attach the copy of your driver's license to the photo gallery.
Oh my God, has that happened to you?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if it had happened ever.
I wouldn't be surprised. So would you run your own events? Is that something that you've thought about?
I had done group shoots in Seattle. I used to host like TFP shoots for newer models or just people that wanted to try modeling between 2012 and 2015 in Seattle. And that was fun. I did one group shoot in Seattle that was like a 2-day long nude in nature event. And, you know, kind of like what they're doing with Muses in Wonderland, but it was 10 models. And it was a good event, but I felt so stressed out because people were flying in from around the country and trying to book one-on-ones throughout the 2 days with the photographers who were attending. And like, if they weren't booking up, like nearing the shoot, I felt stressed out and I felt like I had to help them advertise to get more bookings. So I'm typically a people pleaser to be the main person for like a large group event where everybody's supposed to be making money. I decided, you know, that's I feel too much responsibility for making everybody happy. So I decided not to do another one, but I do like small events with me and like one or two other models where like a small group of photographers come out. I've mostly been doing those underwater trips in the Sinnoh.
Oh yeah, that's right. I wasn't sure. So you are the organizer of those trips.
Yeah,
or co-organizer.
Myself and Astrid are co-organizers together. We share the responsibility of it.
That's great. That's describing exactly what the only thing I think I can handle is myself, one or two other models, small group, a niche location. I've not done it yet.
Yeah.
But exactly like you said, if people were flying in and it was a huge amount of models and
yeah,
people were getting paid up front, people weren't returning deposits appropriately, like I would go nuts. I would probably go broke too, like because I would feel bad and want to just pay them out.
I can herd cats to a certain point, but I can't bear as much responsibility to like, you know, caretake everybody's emotions about how much money they're going to make or whatever.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
I have another question for you. This is a segment of the podcast that I call the Rising Phoenix era of your life. Can you describe some part of your life, whether it's related to your modeling or not, where you were faced with a challenge that you had to overcome?
Yeah, I have one that really stands out. And I think that a lot of us share this one, and it is the pandemic. I did not do very well being unemployed. I was losing my mind. I really should have been talking to a therapist through this, but I did not have any money. So. By the way, where were you during the pandemic? Yes. Did you already have your van?
Yep, I was living in my van, and the first few months of the pandemic, I mostly kind of stayed either in my van or in an Airbnb, mostly in Seattle because nobody was shooting, photographers weren't doing anything, and I was mostly just kind of like when the pandemic started, like I had just been T-boned in the van, somebody hit us, and so I was kind of injured. And then
oh my God,
immediately after that, there was like the COVID lockdown, and so I was living in my van with my boyfriend, and he had some construction jobs that he started on, but the job sites got shut down, so we were hotel hopping for the job sites, but both of us were kind of physically out of whack, and then we just decided we're going to go in between our van and Airbnbs for a few months, and that's kind of what we did.
Wow, so you like hopped it out, juggled.
Wow. It was stressful because they say that if you get COVID, you have to isolate for 14 days. And we didn't have an address to isolate at. It was just our van. So I was so scared of getting it because how was I going to get my food if I can't order delivery to my van?
Oh my God, that's right. All I did was order lots of things.
Yeah.
With money I didn't have. So mine was kind of opposite because it's New York. And I remember, you know, we were the epicenter for a little while. I remember all the sirens and like them building like camps and like converting a warship into like a hospital. And then my friends were losing their elderly family members, and saying goodbye to them on Zoom. So like it was a lot. Like actually Before the pandemic, I had started an OnlyFans about 2 months before, and it was growing and it was really good. But like I said, I'm doing like art and glamour news. So like the content I had was a lot of behind the scenes from shoots. So once the shoot stopped, the content stopped. And I also just like living in New York City, I was fucking depressed, and like I felt like looking good and glamorous was gonna like, I don't know, sort of rub it into somebody. It doesn't make sense because people wanted to support me, and they probably would have given me money if I just put a little effort into anything. But also like New York City apartment, like I was living in clutter. Like it was, the people that were doing remote shoots and like things on video were not in this level of like roommates and clutter and cramped apartments. So like I felt like kind of excluded from that because like I just couldn't see myself making content in this particular apartment. So anyway, I had 2 roommates for a while who were working in very serious jobs, very grown-up jobs, like 16 hours a day on like Zoom or something like that, and doing all their meetings. Like they were so busy. And I'll never forget like hearing my best friend, like her boss yelling at her for like hours a day. And I'm like, I'm so conflicted. Like I'm having this breakdown where I don't know what to do with myself. I don't want to like make content or enjoy art. It feels inappropriate. There's so much death. Like that was really stuck in my head. And I'm like, wow, like my best friend is going through this thing, like with her, she's working so much, but she's grateful. She's got this great income from the startup that she works for. She's on Zoom all the time. And I'm like, part of me is like, why did I ever become a model? Like, didn't I see this coming? Like, we're all going to have to go underground and work on the computer. Like, and I need to work in person. Why? And so I'm freaking out. I'm also like in the middle of this big aerial dance training where like I was so obsessed if I took like 3 days off from the gym, like I thought my life was over. So now weeks are passing and I'm losing it, and like, I can always start doing pull-ups on a playground. Like I was mostly like staring at a wall, listening to other people have their like grown-up jobs on Zoom and feeling conflicted. And I knew that when the world locked down, I had $800 in my bank account. So I made some big purchases, like this big aerial teacher training.
Wow.
Wow. And now like there's not a gym open in like the entire world where I can go, because that was like my only release. So I was just this like pent up ball of frustration. I was also single and just really, really frustrated. And finally I got through like a first couple weeks, like staring at the wall and like making sounds. Started smoking cigarettes for a couple weeks. Like that was a cool hobby. Then started playing video games, like violent ones for a couple weeks. That kind of helped. And then it started to warm up a little bit outside, and like I could see maybe some signs of like possibly doing some outdoor shoots. But girl, I took on so much debt. I did get the unemployment, like the pandemic assistance for freelancers after several months of being on hold, like for, I don't know how much I actually tolerated, like at least 2 hours a day for like 3 weeks.
Oh,
Just
man.
like being on hold with unemployment. But I got it, and I got the back pay. And that helped me for that year that it lasted. And then when it ran out, like just back to spending savings and then credit card debt.
Damn.
I was not willing to tour. I didn't think it was safe, but like largely I was superstitious because so many great shoots had canceled when the pandemic started. And I was hearing about everybody else having all these cancellations from photographers having cold feet. I was like, I'm going to lose money if I try to travel. Like, I just know everything's going to cancel or there's going to be another wave, and I'm just going to like have invested all this into setting up a trip that collapses again. So I didn't travel. I did a lot of outdoor shoots. I didn't like lower my rate or anything, but I started doing crazy things that I wouldn't normally do, like drive 3 hours to do a 2-hour shoot or something, you know, and to work like in some interesting outdoor places because all I had was time. I started going on the apps, dating apps, because I'm not looking for modeling jobs anymore because there weren't any. And I was just like, I have all this free time. This is a really unique point in history. And like, there's at this point, it's June. There's all these protests going on in New York. I want somebody to go with who's not like busy on Zoom, like, you know, yelling at their coworkers.
Yeah.
So I started like swiping, and I was swiping, which way is bad? I was swiping left on doctors, lawyers, people with jobs. I was looking for somebody unemployed.
Nice.
I was like, so anybody that looked like they might work on Zoom, I was like, no. I went out with this art director for a little bit. I was like, okay, cool. Like, you're definitely unemployed. This industry shut down. Yeah, that was cute. And then I met my boyfriend, who is a Broadway musician. So definitely out of work.
Found your boyfriend on a dating app.
I did. I found him on Hinge.
Oh,
But it was like a really unique time where all of these creative people who normally are too busy hustling, especially freelancers, they were suddenly able to date. And for me, it was great because there were no bars open in the whole city
yeah.
and drink. So a first date would be like, let's go for a walk in the park.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do anyway. So when I met John, we walked 11 miles on our first date.
Wow.
And we like stopped at, the bodega for water and Gatorade, And I did not go indoors with him for 5 days.
Wow.
So normally things progress a little faster for me, but none of those relationships worked out. So, we're 3 years strong now. I found somebody to be unemployed with. And all of it was like productive unemployment and like happy walks. Like we watched like every single show on HBO, for better or for worse, but at least we did it together. And then we got a dog.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. And like after the first date, after the fifth date, when I finally was willing to go indoors with him, I pretty much like did not leave. Like I changed my like meal plan subscription to his address very shortly after that. And then like kept my apartment for maybe like 11 more months, but just because I didn't want to lose it, but I never went there.
During the pandemic, were you getting those brain scraping nose swipe tests?
Wait, what?
Where they swipe the inside of your nose, but they go like 6 inches into your face with a huge long...
Yeah, because they used to not know that like they could get it out of the front of your nose.
Yeah, did you get those?
I had that like twice before I finally had one. I was like, wow, why are you so gentle? Is it going to work? Yeah. So, I guess what I wanted to say, so the Phoenix rose in the sense that like John and I are together, like I found a fellow freelancer who knows about freelancing, like if you got a gig and you just up and leave for 2 months, I would need to deal with that because the music industry. And because of that, he's the most understanding guy of how weird and unpredictable my schedule can be.
That's cool.
So that's happy. And then the other thing coming out of it is, as of 3 weeks ago, I have paid off my credit cards.
Wow.
So I felt like I had a rope around my neck, like a really terrible one for 3 years. And as soon as I came in within like $1,000 of paying it off, like I felt like that rope was loosening, and now I think it's gone. And like I give myself permission to be happy now, because when you have a lot of credit card debt, like 5 figures, like I did, like it just doesn't feel like you're allowed to be happy.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I'm sure you had to work real hard to finally get that off of your back.
Yeah, and then like it's funny, like I wonder if I could have last year, like if I just set my mind to it. But I really think I had a mental block. Like I said, like it was almost superstitious paranoia that like, oh, I can't book all these shoots; they're just going to cancel. So I mostly stayed just local to New York.
And how long? At what point did you finally start touring again?
I did not real tours starting in 2021, where I would like drive to my parents in North Carolina, and they didn't want me to shoot because they were paranoid about COVID. So like,
yeah,
I couldn't go like in and out of the house, but then maybe do a few shoots on the way back. That would pay for, that's not real touring. So, and then I would do, events became really important to me in this time because it's like, okay, I definitely could get exposed to COVID at the event, but I'm going to make a ton of money. It's going to be worth it because I'm going to see all my friends who I have missed through this whole pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So like big glamour events like became my thing and like my saving grace. and help me keep the credit card debt below $20,000, hovering around there.
Yeah. Wow.
But I really needed to do a proper tour to get out of that. So I started doing that this year, in January.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was, like I said, I was blocked. I was too afraid to do it. Not afraid of getting COVID or at that point, but just afraid. I think I was traumatized by the cancellations I'd had in 2020. When I had been so excited about so many shoots. 2020 started out so great. I felt like I had this work-life balance that I had never had before, that it just disappeared.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that were kind of brewing that I was excited for in 2020 that got canceled. I was supposed to go to the Philippines and stuff, but a lot of people had stuff canceled.
Yeah. How you never touring because you were living, your mobile life.
I had started an OnlyFans as well a few months before the pandemic, and I did make my own content for that. I was already making a bunch on Patreon too, so that helps me pay my bills. I've had Patreon since 2015, so that's always been a priority, is to maintain my Patreon. And then I started the OnlyFans, and that kind of grew for me throughout 2020. And by the end of the summer, 2020, we had driven down the coast to California. And when I made that decision to start driving, I think we started driving in June, and we made it down in July to San Diego. And I was so paranoid that people were going to judge me for leaving my hometown. So I made this huge long post about how we're going to we have our own shower in the van. We're not going to be using public facilities. We're getting COVID tests every week. We were doing those free drive-through COVID tests, and I would screenshot my results and text it to anybody that wanted to work with me. And so I was super hyper vigilant about getting tested every week. And if a photographer had a job where they had to interact with groups of people that they didn't know were tested or not, then I would require them to take a test and screenshot it and send it to me with their negative results before we shot, because I didn't want to be a carrier of it. And I didn't.
Yeah, that's awesome, Christy. That's the gold standard, of the caution you can take and still get to make art with people. Yeah. And it wasn't even easy to get tests back then. That's the thing. Otherwise, now that my boyfriend's working on Broadway, they're tested every day, and it isn't, it's not even that expensive. But
Seattle,
then you have to wait a long time for results.
Seattle had a really good system for it. There was a lot of government-funded free drive-through sites where you just signed up for it online. Then you would wait in your car to go through this drive-through thing, and people were working there to swab people. And so yeah, we did that every week. On the West Coast in 2020 in the summer, we had the worst smoke season in history. You could not go outside. It was toxic air because of how thick the smoke was in Seattle and Portland, all up and down the West Coast. So you couldn't be inside with people because of COVID, and you couldn't be outside with people because of the smoke.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really bad. And we had a lot of protesting in the streets too. And it was just crazy. There was a period of time where Seattle was deemed an anarchist region because we had the city had overtaken the police station, and the police evacuated in the downtown Seattle police station. And then, yeah,
you had a really exciting city too. God.
Yeah, Seattle,
maybe even more exciting.
It was definitely interesting. I went to the Capitol Hill occupied area, and it was interesting. It was kind of it felt like a hippie festival, but there was a lot of people in the streets making speeches about equality and stuff. So that was cool. They had, a purpose. But there was a lot of
you kind of miss those days a little bit.
Yeah, it was kind of
things have potential to get better.
Yeah, and there's definitely efforts towards more equality that were being made, and I don't know how successful they were in Seattle, but people said their piece. So
I think there's a whole generation of people who will not forget what they heard. Yeah, I think people, even millennials, we're so stuck in our ways as a generation. It's going to take more time.
Yeah, totally. Well, we're getting near the ending of our podcast. I wanted to make sure that everything that you wanted to talk about gets aired, because I remember you had a list of things.
I think so. One quick story about police coming.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Fucking up my shoots. Okay, so I was in Georgia, like out in I can't remember the name, the county, out in the county. Like, so probably an hour from Atlanta, north. I was not nude. I was not intending to be nude. That's why this is absurd, because this is probably the first time in my life art nude model not going to be nude. He wanted to shoot me in like a coat and a fedora, and another model in something similar. But, you know, we are who we are, so we had our bags with us, which were full of lingerie and like our personal things. So the two cops come and they're like, you guys are trespassing. The photographer is like, nope, I've looked this up. This is public property, but it's like a kind of an abandoned camp, maybe like an abandoned boys camp. So it's, you know, unclear how it's zoned. Like people are going to have to look at actual papers to find this out.
Uh-huh.
But he comes up to us and he says, what you're wearing is illegal. This is nudity. I can see your nipples. And I was like, I was wearing, Chrissy, I'm a nude model. Like, I was in my street clothes, but no bra, you know, but I never wore a bra back then because art model,
yeah,
small B's, you know, you didn't need one. I was, what year is this? This is probably 2009. So I was really young.
Okay.
So I'm wearing like a white button down that has a sheer pinstripe, very thin pinstripe. So like maybe you can kind of see my nipple, but I know that I've worn this exact same thing to the Brooklyn Museum like the week before, and this in New York it was a non-issue.
Yeah.
So this cop is like, yeah, he's like, I can see your areola, is what he said, and I said, what color is it? He couldn't do that. So one cop is like, he couldn't tell me what color it was. So one cop is like looking up like, how is this place zoned? Like, can we get these guys on trespassing? And the other is like, just decided me and the Russian model I'm traveling with that we are very suspicious. Like obviously I'm nearly naked in this white shirt, which was my street clothes, ironically. So he starts like, I don't know why I even allowed this, because now I know like he needed a warrant for this, but he went in my purse and he took out, like, I used to smoke cigarettes. He took out a pack of cigarettes and he like smelled them. I guess to see if it was drugs or whatever. And, you know, they were just cigarettes. So he started going through my bag, and this wasn't even supposed to be a lingerie shoot, but we had our regular bags, which were full of lingerie. So he's pulling them out piece by piece and looking at them. And then in addition to this being my lingerie bag, there's the personal bag. He pulled out my little pocket rocket vibrator.
Oh my God.
I'm not an erotic model. That was in there because like I used to, you know, art model, travel a lot lighter.
Yeah.
He pulls it out and he says, what is this? And I said, do you want to smell that too? That was good. I thought it was funny when I was 24.
Oh my God.
Anyway, the photographer was right. We were on public land. It was fine. We weren't naked. Like, he was just harassing us.
So you didn't get
Do you want
arrested?
to smell that too? No, because we didn't do anything wrong. We were wearing clothing. We had bags of lingerie, but we weren't wearing it.
Did he smell it?
No, it didn't smell.
Did he realize what it was? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty obvious. But maybe not. I don't know. Like, you've either seen the pocket rocket before or you haven't.
oh my God. That's so awkward.
He was smelling. Anyway, okay, I'll leave you with that.
That was in Georgia, you said?
That was in Georgia.
Yeah, typical.
Where you can't even in an outdoor area where nobody else is around be wearing a white shirt with a very casual translucent pinstripe that sort of reveals the shape of your nipple, but he could not tell me if they were pink or brown. And I knew I was within my rights, although, like, why I didn't ask him to not search my bag, I don't know. I was dumb. I didn't have drugs or weapons, you know, so it should have been chill.
But then if you were to tell him to stop looking in your bag, then he'd say that you're, like, resisting his orders or something.
Yeah, I had like another shoot that day, so it's like I can't like be asked to like go down to the station or wait for a warrant. Like I just need this to be over with. And I was feeling so bad for the photographer because he was paying us, both of us, our full rates, and we were even doing news, and I was like, now this whole shoot is like basically over because it's taking so long for them to look up like who owns this land.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
Poor guy. Yeah, poor guy. But at least it was, yeah, everybody, me and the other model had a huge sense of humor about it because like we were in the right, and that felt good. Even for a 24-year-old, that felt good. Like I knew I didn't have anything, and I knew that this was the one time I wasn't even naked.
Yeah, for real. That's hilarious. I haven't been busted by the cops on a shoot before. I guess I had a kind of a close call once where I was doing a nude shoot for 3 photographers at a cemetery in St. Louis, Missouri. And yeah, and there was people there. Like I had a robe, and one of the photographers was just supposed to throw a robe at me when they saw that a car was approaching, because it was.
Was it daytime or nighttime?
It was daytime. It was the middle of the day on like Sunday or something like that.
You're brave.
The day to go to the cemetery, and they had this one. It was the Anheuser-Busch Memorial Building, and it looked like a palace because it had like, you know, white columns and nice stairs, and so the photographers wanted to take me there, and the cops showed up and they were like, "Oh, what are you guys doing here?" And I'm like in my little robe, barefoot, with weird makeup and weird hair, and it's obvious that I'm not wearing anything underneath it, but the cops like were hassling the photographers for like 10 minutes, and they were like joking around, and one of them was like laying blame on, they're like, "Oh yeah, you can totally trust us, but that guy over there, like, you don't want to know what kind of photos he's taken." And of course it was the one photographer in the group who was like a person of color, so he was sweating bullets, and I was like, this is not this is not fair. I feel extremely awkward. And the cops basically were like saying stuff like, "Well, people come here and they take inappropriate photos, so you better not be doing that." But after about 10 or 15 minutes, they finally left, and they didn't, you know, arrest anybody. But I was shaken up. I was like, I'm the one that's going to get in trouble for public indecency, not the photographers, even if they're the ones that brought me here. So
it's true. You're lucky that they didn't just harass you. I've been caught like 4 other times, but have me back on the podcast someday and we'll just share cop stories.
Yeah, cool. Well, it was great having you. I really enjoyed getting to talk to you, and I'll definitely put your links in the podcast description so that people can check you out and stuff.